My name is Joyce Jagger, the Embroidery Coach, and I want to welcome you to this presentation on how to create crisp, clean, small lettering that sews out great using your embroidery fonts. My goal in this presentation is to give you a much better understanding of how to work with small lettering. In this presentation, we are going to concentrate on using your embroidery fonts and adjusting them so that they will run more efficiently, many times with a lower stitch count. In part 1 of this presentation, we are going to talk about the common issues of small lettering, adjusting the styles or the recipes, and missing underlay in parts of the lettering. Working with small text lettering can have its challenges, but once you have learned to cope with many of the issues, it will be easier. Making small lettering work to your satisfaction often means making adjustments to allow for your fabric type and the size and the style of the lettering that the customer is requesting. Many times what they are requesting is not acceptable to embroidery. They are used to seeing their logos and typeset, usually in ink or screen printing ink, and this does not always work with needles and thread. It is not uncommon for a customer to request an unreasonable amount of letters, all to be placed on one line. With small lettering, you have to create a balance between the fabric, needles, thread, and the size and style of your lettering. You cannot have letters so small that they're going to create stitches that will be stitching on top of each other. This causes holes in the fabric and thread breaks. Your stitch length must be a minimum of 1 millimeter in order for it to sew and not create holes. Another key factor in sewing small lettering is your underlay. Many people do not use underlay under their small letters. They use a heavy density instead. This can also create holes in your fabric and bird nesting. With underlay added, you lighten your density, therefore you do not have as many stitch penetrations in the same place. The average embroiderer uses either a 7511 needle or an 8012 needle. Both of these needles are too large if you are sewing small lettering. The diameter of a 7511 needle is 0.75 millimeters. If you are creating a stitch length of 1 millimeter, your stitch penetration points are only 0.25 millimeters apart. This is not enough fabric left between the stitches. Technically, letters smaller than 4 millimeters should not be sewn with any needle larger than a 7010, and 4 millimeter letters or smaller should be sewn with 65-9 needles. If it is a knit fabric, you must use a ballpoint needle. If it is a woven fabric, you must use a sharp needle. It is best to keep your letters at 6 millimeters if at all possible. This is 1/4 of an inch. On numerous corporate logos requested today, it is necessary to go below that 1/4 of an inch, many times down as low as 4 millimeters. The lowercase letters of a font run at 4 millimeters measures about 3 millimeters depending on the font. That is only 1/8 of an inch. This is extremely small. The center opening of a lowercase letter, such as an O or an A or a B, must be a minimum of 1 millimeter across. If it is not, you will cut a hole into the fabric as it is sewing. That is why it is so important to use a smaller needle. The smaller your needle is, the clearer and cleaner your lettering will look. Here is a drawing of a needle that I have created, and I just wanted to show it to you in relation to stitches. This is a 7511 needle, and this is the hole that it makes when it goes down into the fabric. Now, yes, it's much larger than what it normally is, but I wanted to show it to you in relation to creating a small letter. This letter is a 4 millimeter lowercase o, and it measures 3.2 millimeters from the very top edge to the bottom. And this is the hole that the needle makes as it penetrates into the fabric. This is the size. This is the inside area of this circle that I have created. This is with the measuring with the stitch penetrations. This is the exact size of that hole. This again is your size of your 7511 needle. This would be the size of the stitch penetration of a 7010 needle. And in the same relation, this would be the size for a 65-9 needle. And it really doesn't look like there's all that much difference between them, but there really is. And again, if you use a 65-9 needle on your small lettering, it will come out much cleaner. Your fabric is a key element in this equation of balance. We have many fabric styles and types in both knits and wovens. The more stable the fabric is, the easier it is for the small lettering to sew. Knits such as piqués are tough and create many problems with small lettering. With these knits, the stitches want to sink into the fabric, and you have to control this with underlay, and yet not create too many stitches. Sometimes it is by trial and error. I have found that some small lettering needs only one line or pass of underlay under it. This one line of center run or perpendicular underlay will help the top stitching of the letter to sit higher on the top of the fabric and not get lost in the fibers of the fabric. Sometimes I refer to the fonts as keyboard fonts. Keyboard is an old term that we used to use because the fonts were built right into the keyboard on our embroidery machines. Today that is not the case. Our fonts are now in the software separate from our embroidery machines. Our present-day keyboard fonts are digitized very well as a general rule, and we have many fonts to choose from. I know within the Pulse and Wilcom systems there are over 100 basic fonts, with many more available. Many of the systems today have built-in recipes or styles. Some are called presets. This is not to be confused with the Pulse presets that are available in the higher levels of Pulse. In Pulse, recipes or styles and presets are two different functions. In the newer version of the Wilcom software, Embroidery Studio, your recipes or styles are called Auto Fabric Assistant. Some fonts are not digitized to run smaller than 1/2 or 3/4 of an inch. You must be very careful in your selection of your fonts that you want to offer at a smaller size. Make sure that you examine each font, create lettering with it, and run it off on your embroidery machine before you make your final decisions as to which ones to offer. Most recipes and styles in the softwares of today that have such a feature were created for 1-inch lettering. They do not take into consideration that they are going to change sizes. Learning to make adjustments to your fabric, recipes, and styles can be very confusing. You must learn that the smaller letters use less settings and the larger letters use more. This includes the density, the underlay, and the pull comp settings. The smaller letters tend to push out more and pull in more, so your settings are critical. I talked about the push and pull factor in my webinar on pull compensation. If you are unfamiliar with it, the video is available through the website at www.howtocreateembroiderypullcomp.com. If you are an Embroidery Tips and More Embroidery Club member, you can purchase it at a discount. Contact me for the discount code. If you are not familiar with your recipes or styles and do not know how to make adjustments for your different style fabrics, this can be very troublesome for you. Sometimes your lettering will have a jagged edge or a sawtooth effect and will give you an